It's my great pleasure to be back here in the Rio Grande Valley with my friends and colleagues, Henry Cuellar and Tony Gonzales, and especially to welcome Senator Sinema from the great state of Arizona. Our border states have a lot in common, and I was in Tucson with Senator Sinema yesterday to learn a little bit more about what the border region there in Arizona was like, and frankly, it's quite a bit different from the Valley. And I'm particularly appreciative that she came here to see what life is like here in the Rio Grande Valley, because it is a unique part of our state and a part of our nation, and obviously we've got some huge challenges. But one of the things that Senator Sinema said to me as we were walking out from the meeting we just had with all the stakeholders is what a great community that you have here that's so supportive of one another, that works so well together across party lines to do what's needed for the people of the Rio Grande Valley. And I'm very proud of that, proud of my great long-time partnership with Congressman Cuellar, and Congressman Gonzales is relatively new to the Congress, but I have every faith that he's going to be a good partner for us on the House side. But perhaps the best evidence that we actually are not just talking but doing something is the legislation that you see that's mentioned here today, the Bipartisan Border Solutions Act. There's a lot of people that talk about the border who've never been to the border. They don't frankly know what they're talking about, but they talk about it anyway, and they create an impression of what life must be like here. And particularly when you start asking them, well, what ideas do you have? What solutions do you have for how we can deal with the complexity of what's happening at the border? And usually you hear nothing but crickets. Nobody's raising their hand and offering ideas, but we thought it was important working together in a bipartisan and bicameral way, in other words, in the Senate and the House, to come up with a solution that we think will contribute to making progress. And I'm very, very glad to be here with all of my colleagues today, but particularly Senator Sinema, who's been a great partner as another border state senator. And let me turn the microphone over to her right now. Senator Sinema.
Well, thanks so much, Senator Cornyn. First, I want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to join Senator Cornyn and my colleagues from the House and all of you in this community to come and visit the RGV. As Senator Cornyn said, he and I have spent several days together, both in Arizona and here in Texas, learning more about the challenges that our country faces in the failure of the federal government's job to regulate immigration and solve this crisis over most of my lifetime. As a child of the border, born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, my experience with the border is significant. But it's important to note that the challenges that we face in Arizona are different in some ways, while similar in other ways, to the challenges that the RGV community faces and that all of southern Texas faces along its border region. And so one thing I'm really excited about is the work that the four of us can do when we head back to Washington, D.C. to teach our colleagues who may not have been lucky enough to be born or raised in a border state like we have, but who must learn to understand the complexities of the crisis that we face in this country. We seek practical, common sense solutions that will benefit the communities that we serve here in the United States, as well as our partners to the south, Mexico and other countries that we see so many migrants coming to the United States of America. As I heard one of our great Border Patrol agents say today, the president of the Border Patrol Council, say, we all love legal immigration, and we do not like illegal immigration. What we attempt to do with our legislation is start a comprehensive conversation about the realistic changes we can make to ensure that people who seek to come to the United States to live the American dream have an ability to do so legally, and that we stop the flow of drugs and criminals into our country. Now, our piece of legislation is not the end-all be-all. It will not solve all the challenges that our country faces in the challenge of immigration, but it is a practical step that addresses much of the current crisis we face. And we look forward to garnering support from allies and colleagues on both sides of the aisle as we return to Washington. As Senator Cornyn said, there's not a lot of bipartisanship happening in DC these days. You see a lot of bickering and you don't see a lot of working together. And what I'm incredibly proud of is this group the four of us who started a bipartisan, bicameral, very practical discussion on how to best help our communities and the communities of those who seek a life in the United States of America. So I couldn't be more proud to be here, and I thank all of our coalition partners and supporters who've devoted so much time to help us learn more today and garner the support we need to get this legislation across the finish line.
Well done. Henry.
Thank you. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes, con el senador John Cornyn, la senadora Kristen Sinema de Arizona y mi colega en el comité de asignación, Tony Gonzales. Lo que estamos buscando aquí con nuestros amigos, los líderes de aquí, de la ciudad, del condado, del estado, es hallar un balance. Nosotros todos queremos la seguridad de nuestra frontera, pero al mismo tiempo necesitamos un balance entre el comercio, el turismo. Sabemos que el río Bravo no los divide, pero los une como dos naciones. Y por eso estamos aquí con esta propuesta entre demócratas y republicanos, el Senado y la Casa de Diputados para hallar una solución para la frontera. La frontera es una parte muy segura. Sabemos que lo que queremos es ese balance. All we're asking for is balance between commerce, tourism, and security, and this is why we're here in a bipartisan approach. And I certainly want to thank Senator Cornyn, Senator Sinema, and of course my good friend Tony Gonzales, and of course all the leaders, the city, the county, the private sectors, also the landowners, the state also, so we can provide balance to the approach. Thank you so much for being here. In francés.
You know, America is built on immigrants, and we're also a nation of laws. And this sensible piece of legislation tries to tackle both of that. You know, this isn't a new topic for many of us that live and work along the border, but it is a growing crisis that is growing out of control. I'm very proud to be part of this group, both in the Senate and in the House, that have come together to roll up our sleeves. Look, the easiest thing to do is nothing. There's plenty of people doing nothing. Right? The next easiest thing to do is to blame somebody else. And there's plenty of people blaming somebody else. I would argue one of the most difficult things to do is to roll up your sleeves, go to work, and try to find solutions to the problem. This isn't just about the lawmakers that are up here either. Look at this list of organizations that have endorsed this bipartisan legislation and are working in this space. You've got sheriff associations, you've got the Border Patrol Council, you've got property owners, you've got the commerce, you've got the Chamber of Commerce. It is a wide variety of groups that have come together to try to help and start to solve the problem. Because the bottom line, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. What matters is we have to solve this problem before it gets worse. Thank you again for coming today.
That's it.